Welcome back to the Hoops Temple podcast. You all know me, Nathan Schwartz. Joining me from Sacramento, Aaron Schroeder.
Good to see you, Nate. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Good to have you back. Good to be back. We are back at it again, ranking our top centers. We have ranked 1 through 50. We are aiming to rank 51 through 75 today. Aaron, would you care to read 1 through 50 for us?
I'd love to. There'd be no greater honor. Starting number 1, Kareem, then Bill Russell, Tim Duncan, we considered a center. Then Shaq, Wilt, Hakeem, George Mikan, Moses Malone, Jokic, Patrick Ewing at 10. David Robinson, Willis Reed, Dave Cowens, Dwight Howard, Bob McAdoo, Artis Gilmore, Joel Embiid, Bill Walton, Spencer Haywood, 20 is Mel Daniels, 21 is Robert Parrish, then Neil Johnston, Dan Issel, Nate Thurman, Wes Unseld, Alonzo Mourning, Bob Lanier, Ben Wallace, Dikembe Mutombo, Yao Ming is 30. Then Jack Sigma, Marcus Saul, Alex Groza, Brad Doherty, Ralph Sampson, Zemo Beatty, Walt Bellamy, Larry Faust, Ed McCauley, Rudy Gobert, Artie Rison, DeMarcus Cousins, Bill Lambier, Al Horford. 45 is Clyde Levelette. Finishing off, Bam Adebayo, Jermaine O'Neal, Domantas Sabonis, Joakim Noah, and Karl Anthony Towns.
Solid list. This has been in our attempts to rank out top who knows how many players. We've gotten 200 down, which has included the top 46 centers of all time. We have made changes to the list, so if you heard or have seen a TikTok of a slightly different list, hey, your guys' input does cause us to debate and go back to these lists. So if someone from that list you think should be higher or lower, email us, hoopstemple@gmail.com. Let us know, make your best case for someone. And yeah, we're open to making some changes. So with all of that said, we're here to get into this at 51. Aaron, do you have a nomination?
I just want to mention before we get into it that probably not this pod, but eventually we're going to have to seriously consider Andre Drummond's placement among the NBA greats. We're getting there, super close. It's almost happening. Like that's the area we're working in, which is a lot of fun. I did have a nomination for 51. My nomination is Alvin Adams, number 51.
Ooh, okay.
Adams is a one-time All-Star, 1976 Rookie of the Year, and it's really that Rookie of the Year season that is so special. 19 points, 9 boards, 5.6 assists, a block and a half, a steal and a half. I believe he's top 25 in every category, which is like basically something only Giannis has done in the past 10 years or so. So really incredible stats, but he steps it up come playoff time with 18 points and 10 boards, 5 assists, still an impact defensive player in the finals versus Boston. 23 points, 10 boards, 5 assists. Really every game but game 1 where Dave Cowens has a very nice game. Alvin Adams is the better center. He statistically plays just as well as Cowens, and had the Suns beaten the Celtics, he's almost certainly Finals MVP.
Is he?
I believe so.
I didn't look too deeply into that because he wasn't the best player over the course of the season. I'm trying to think who would have been the other. Is it Paul Westphal? Well, that would have been the like clear favorite for the Suns.
If Westphal had won it, that would have been quite the robbery. With Westphal's averaging 21 points, 3 boards, and about 5 assists, where Adams is averaging 23 points, 10 boards, and about 5 assists, 4.7 to 4.8. Adams has huge games like 33 points in game 3, even that final game 6. Adams drops 20 and 9. Westfall's 14 and 3. I really feel like Adams was the best player in that series for the Suns.
No, I mean, looking at it here, I think you're right with this. Got some good quotes for him. Their Suns assistant coach, Al Blanchie, he said that he's the best passing center since Johnny Kerr. So if you don't know who Johnny Kerr is, he's a really good passing center. Best one before Alvin Adams.
Proven.
Good old Jerry Colangelo said that he has total perception on the court, and there isn't a smarter player in basketball. Take that for what you may.
Go ahead.
No. Just gonna say, take that for what you may as a white center in the 70s. But there's always some racially coded language of white guys being smarter, black guys being, the best natural athletes. But There are some really high compliments of him, and he's a starter on 450 win teams, including an all-star on that finals team. Um, that's a really good case. I had him quite a ways down, but the margin between these guys, both in the matrix and in my own rankings, I I was debating about where to put one guy, and I was like, well, can make a case anywhere between 59 and 70. So I don't hate it for Alvin Adams.
Thank you. I mean, he is a huge part of getting to a finals and then two other conference finals in 79 and in 84. Now, his role declines over time. It's an interesting peak, peaking in his rookie season, but with time, guys kind of adapt. But he always was an excellent passer. He kind of stopped rebounding eventually. He was only 6'9", so I get it. But he played almost 1,000 games all with Phoenix. I personally really like that. Whether there's a
Mhm.
ton of value in playing for one franchise, I just think that's cool that he was able to stay in Phoenix for so long. I mean, 75 to 88 is a ton of time, and I mean, career averages of 14 points, 7 boards, 4 assists. He was always quite effective.
Interesting. All right. I had three guys that I kind of had locked in as these were going to be my next three nominations. And then there's kind of a big malaise of players, of which Adams is in that malaise is for me.
Hmm.
So I want to run these three names past you and see if we can get any of them or all of them over Adams.
Okay, go ahead.
In no particular order, Vlade Divac, Brooke Lopez, and DeAndre Jordan.
You're trying to get me on my Kings fandom. You're trying to get me for Vlade. I like him. That's interesting on I had Brook Lopez a little ways down, but I thought I was high on him. I had DeAndre quite a ways away. He was very DeAndre Jordan's really effective at what he did in terms of rebounding, in terms of shot blocking, but had such a massive flaw in terms of free throw shooting
Oh yeah.
that I don't see him as a super effective player. Where these guys like we're in the serviceable tier, fringe all star, fringe all NBA if you're lucky. Can they be a good piece of a good team? And I feel like Jordan really couldn't. Like the Clippers were good regular season teams, but he's going out in the playoffs and shooting like 25% from the line, and you're not beating anybody. Like people bash on Chris Paul for being a choker. Meanwhile, his center is like 1 of 40 from the free throw line. It's like what do you think is gonna happen? Like I'm not there on DeAndre, but I'm interested in Vlade. I want to
Well,
hear
so
you make the Vlade Divac case. I want to hear all about it.
So the Vlade Divac case starts with Vlade as a Laker.
Yeah, that's what I should have known. It had nothing to do with the Kings, huh? Never did. It
No,
was all about the Lakers.
so 93, or actually, let's just start in 91, where Vlade is a key piece of a Lakers team that's kind of falling apart at the seams. You got James Worthy injury, you got um, Byron Scott injury, you've got that the team doesn't really have much. And Vlade is a gifted passer. He's bringing the ball up the floor, or sometimes it's like him and Magic and Sam Perkins trying to make this like teamwork without Worthy being where he's at. And Vlade hits this high level of play where he can be a starter, a key offensive cog that, as guards stop being true point guards and start having more and more scoring guards, having a playmaking big man is just so valuable, having that passing in big man. And it starts in LA, but then it continues in Charlotte and continues in Sacramento. And the case for Alvin Adams is that one rookie season is so good, but it tails off really quickly. It tails off immediately as the merger happens, and so I was looking at that. That's probably the best single season any of these guys have. But Vladdy's got like 10 years of being really good. And if you want to look at some playoffs, 83, it's a best of five series, them versus Phoenix. Bly's averaging 18, 9, and almost 6 assists or 5.6 assists. It's a really diverse skill set and it's a lot of longevity at a very high level. And then, yeah, listen, I'm a Lakers fan. I watched Shaq punk his ass time and time again. But also, like, hey, Vlade was arguably one of the best defense, like best individual defenders against Shaq.
He
Like,
was, because he was
you know,
huge and
he
was
was
not afraid to flop. One of the
and was mobile.
pioneers of flopping.
Oh yeah. Like outside of the Robinson Duncan dual combo, going up against Shaq in the early 2000s was like a death sentence for guys. And Vlade hold his own is probably too strong, but Vlade did not get demolished or embarrassed as much as Shaq would like to say.
Defense is a really interesting thing because Dikembe Mutombo is a better defensive player than Vlade. But if you had to
True,
pick
true.
someone to guard Shaq's in the 2000s, in 2001 or 2002, despite Dikembe winning Defensive Player of the Year, you would take Vlade.
I mean, I'm
And
gonna take Rick Smits, but we'll talk about
well,
Smitty.
Smits is good because he pulls Shaq away from the basket, but that's offensively.
And because he's Gumby and lanky, and when Shaq hits him, the arms flail, and like even underneath the flop, he just goes down. But also the length. And there's a lot of advantages that Rick Smits has in defending Shaq.
On
But
my go ahead.
that's my Vlade case. Is that Vlade plays at a near all-star level for about a 10-year span. Doesn't quite hit the all-star level more than, I mean, he only gets it one time, but I just like what he does. I like the versatility in his game. And, at a certain point, like, versatility matters.
I think Vlade would have been first team All NBA twice in 2015. Like he was is the worst era. Like the way
Yeah.
he was making the All Star team because I know it's two guards and three forwards, but he used to have centers on the ballot, right? And so Vlade wasn't making it over. He's probably like the ninth best center most of the time, but I mean DeAndre Jordan's making it.
Yeah.
On my super fun goodness scale, Vlade's best season is 16th in 1995, and Alvin's
Seems
best
about right.
season is obviously 76, where he is 7th. I'm okay with Vlade. I think you're right. I think you're right. Are you okay going Vlade and then Alvin?
Can I
Because
make
I'm
the
ready.
case for Can I make the case for my other two guys? We
You
can
can. No, you can. Let me but we're saying Vlade.
I think Vlade. I had
All right.
Vlade at 52. I had Brook at 51. So let me just give you the Brook case. The Brook case is incredible high level scoring for a decade. Was he close to? I think always just below 20 points per game.
There's
Yeah,
20 and
a
10,
lot of
and then it's
19s.
18 and 7. Brooke was the
Yeah,
18 and 7.
yeah. From 2010 to 2017, 19.5, 7 in boards. And these are good scoring numbers, but absolutely atrocious defense. Just menial defense, couldn't guard a chair or a type of defense. And then the back half of his career, he reinvents himself. He goes from I'm not shooting any threes to let me become Splash Mountain, shooting a high percentage, and let me become one of the best drop defenders of all time. He is a one-time All-Star. We're back with the accursed 2013 Brooklyn Nets, which were a 49 win team. Um, Really, it's you and I were discussing the Nets' terrible trade for Garnett and everyone else. One thing that we missed in that in 2014, Brook Lopez only plays 17 games, and so it's kind of his absence that also really hinders the Nets, who had just acquired Garnett and Pierce, and fall from a 49 win team down to like a 500 team. Um, so you got the two arcs. You've got high scoring greatness, and then you've got high level contributions to winning franchises, including the title as a defensive stopper and a stretch big.
I know that it's all forgiven because the Lakers won the 2020 title, but them having Brooke Lopez for nothing in 2018 and then letting him walk for nothing is a
Oh yeah,
huge blunder. And honestly, looking at his best reference page now, the fact that Brooks been in Milwaukee for 6 seasons now is kind of crazy. Like he was in Brooklyn for 9 years, and that's 2008 to 2017. That's basically my entire conscience childhood. Like that's like Brooke has been a net. He was a net for an eternity. Like he spent his life in New Jersey and then Brooklyn. Um,
I'm 90% certain that he holds the Nets franchise scoring record. He has
he
scored the
does.
most points, which is just wild. How does he have this record?
Nets are an awful franchise. That's why the Nets are really bad. I think I did my franchise ranking and they're bottom 10. Bottom 10. Well, I mean, he's competing with like Derek Coleman. Because even Dr. J wasn't there for very long, and it's there's really not much. Is Joe Johnson, right? But that was Joe Johnson. It wasn't even there for that long. It feels like he was there for a long time, but it wasn't even. He was mostly a Hawk.
It's just so sad. I'm pulling it up here now, and in total points, I'm not sure where are points? Basketball Reference. Give it to me. Hey, Rick Barry has their points per game lead.
That's absurd. It's like what's 1 year in the ABA, right?
Yeah. Buck Williams is 4 points
Mhm.
behind Brooke Lopez. I think the Nets need to unretire Buck Williams. I don't care that he's like 56 right now. Just put him in, let him get
He
five
could get him
points.
6 points, right? A couple
Yeah.
layups. That would
Okay,
be
he's
funny.
63. That might kill him.
Could a 63-year-old score 6 points? Well, 5 points technically. I keep saying 6 because it's just 3 buckets. I just don't feel like, are free throws the best way to do it?
Maybe you just leave him out there so whenever a team gets a technical foul, you just bait
Oh.
Tex so that way he can get out there.
Here's this
Uh,
cherry picking, just 4 on 5, and if it works out, sling it down court.
yeah. But that's my case for Lopez. Do you like the case for Lopez over Adams of this? I see you're leaning into peak, which like we've
Yeah.
we've discussed peak over longevity, but I think when the peak is one season during a split versus a longevity of like 10 plus years, I'm liking the longevity a little bit more at that point.
I think I'm still gonna take Alvin just because the peak is so much better, but it's also fairly comparable career in terms of like his contributions to the 76 team are much better than any contributions to these great Milwaukee teams, which have been really great in terms and some of the best defenses ever with Burke
Hmm.
and Giannis. With Alvin helping them make 2 other conference finals, and you can see it how it's pretty similar, but I take that 76 season. Um,
You take that very seriously.
yeah, I
That's
take
fair.
it seriously.
Okay, so if we go Vlade at 51, Alvin at 52, do you like Brooke for 53, or do you have someone you like over Brooke?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, Brooke at 53. My next highest guy on the board is DeAndre Jordan, all NBA first team,
Nah.
a defensive anchor.
Who are the
Uh,
second, third teams? Just that season, just for context. I just want everyone to know.
it's not good. Um,
Is it Marcus Saul and Andre Drummond?
I believe it is. It might be DeMarcus
Yikes!
Cousins and Marcus
Yo-
Gasol
Yeah, I
because
know.
Marcus Gasol,
Driving.
I want to say, missed half the season.
If it's DeMarcus Cousins and Andre Drummond, we can't take that seriously.
All right, it is DeMarcus Cousins second team and Andre Drummond third team. Yes.
Jeez, man. No, it's just okay. My nomination, I'm going chalk. Just accolades, respecting the era. Center Wayne Embry, Hall of Famer, 5-time All
Oh.
Star, 1968 champ. Are the numbers incredible? Not really. He gets up to top 10 in rebounds per game for a bit, but those 5 All Star seasons from 61 to 65, 16 points and 12 rebounds or 11 and a half. Are those Royals teams fantastic? No, but 5 All Star teams, I'll respect it. They had something going on. I know it's a different era where there's less teams, and therefore all-star nods are kind of less valuable, but 5 of them, but
Hmm.
I mean, no one need I mean, I don't think anyone else on this list is gonna be close to. Does anyone else have 4? It's 3? Does anyone else have 3?
Red Robbins has four. Where's my Red Kerr? Red
Kerr
Kerr
has
has
3.
three. Yeah,
You wanna just say they knew what they were talking about back then?
not not particularly.
1963 Eastern Division Finals game, goes to 7 against Boston and against Bill Russell. Embry scores 16 points per game and 13 boards on 42% shooting. That's a pretty good series against Russell. In that game 7, Wemby has 18 points and 7 boards.
It's fine. Just
It's fine, but it's. It's still like top 15-ish scoring and top 10-ish rebounding for that era. We'll
Well,
keep him noted because there's no way
yeah,
DeAndre Jordan is better than, than that.
I, I'm
No.
I had Embry down at 57, so I'm
Okay.
not too far behind.
Let's do Rick Smith's. It's time, isn't it? It's
You
my
know,
next guy.
really.
Yeah.
So I was really kind of surprised about looking more into Rick Smith's. I wasn't I wasn't feeling him as much as I thought I would be. I'm usually a pretty pro Rick Smithsy kind of guy. What's your take for Smiths to be at 54?
He's the Pacers Alvin Adams. It's the same. It's
All these guys are basically the
what, like
same.
12
This is
years? Yeah.
the, the difference between
Well, it's
53 and
similar
70.
because it's 12 years, and with the same franchise and 15 points per game, 6 boards. The passing isn't there, but Smiths and Reggie Miller are like co-captaining some pretty very consistent Pacers teams. Excuse me.
Yeah. Throughout the 90s, they are. I looked into some of their deeper playoff runs because they make the Eastern Conference Finals. They make it three times in the 90s. They make it again in 2000. But just looking at those 90s runs, you've got 95, and in 95 they're playing Orlando, which is the Shaq Orlando Magic, and it's tied 2-2, goes into game 5, and Smith ends up fouling out, but first puts up 20 points on 9 for 11 shooting, 8 boards, 4 assists. Just a great game. He is the best pacer in that game. Then in 98, they go to 7 with the Bulls. And Indiana wins game 6 by just 3 points. Smith gets in that game, puts up 25 points on 11 for 12 shooting. Missed one time. Reggie Miller, 2 for 13, 8 points. I'm, yeah.
Yeah.
99, Smith has a couple of rough games. A rough game in game 5, ended up losing in 6. But in game 6, 20 points, 9 for 18 shooting, fine. Reggie, 3 for 18 against the Knicks. The Nick killer kind of fell apart there.
A little bit. With Smith's, his height and his shooting ability just from like longer mid range was so valuable in that era, given the amount of elite shot blockers and just huge dudes in general
Mm-hmm.
that roam the paint. And the Pacers built just a beautiful team with like Dale Davis and guys who could make up for the lack of rebounding that Smith wasn't providing because he wasn't very close to the basket offensively. And between Smiths and Miller and the rest of the guys they had, they were pretty consistently great. Um,
Yeah.
Looking at like some series like against the Knicks in '95, Smith's overall is 23 points and 6 boards, or in '98 against the Bulls, 16 points and 5 boards. He's really contributing. He played 21 playoff series in his career.
Yeah. The win shares don't quite show him as good. And I think a big part of that is just a lack of rebounding that
Mm.
you would expect from a 7'4" guy. But also they had the Davis brothers, Dale and Antonio, and those were the muscles getting the rebounds. And Smith's was kind of much more of a modern defensive scheme where he was like the big back line into kind of Rudy Gobert, get the shot blocking while the other guys cleaned up the boards. So um it's a lot higher than I have him, but I don't hate it. I do kind of actually really like it.
Yeah, all right, let's do it. He's in. He's in. He really likes it.
We're doing it. It's a huge jump up from the Matrix. He's 421 in the Matrix. And we're going to be talking about him in like the 250 or
I, I
225 range.
I feel like that really hits him with the lack of rebounding, where we understand that the lack of rebounding came from just a different play style. Because looking at like his shot attempts, it's in the late '90s, him and Reggie are taking like 14, 15 apiece, basically. It's not
It's a
as much. We talk about that a lot. How Reggie isn't really like this insane leader of of the offense, and it's kind of a really nice collective.
Yeah. Well, it's the lack of rebounding, also lack of awards, and we can understand the rebounding due to play style and the team construction. We can also understand the lack of awards due to 90s were just brutal to try to be an all-star center or all NBA center when you just look at who were the centers in the East. You had Shaq, you had Patrick Ewing, you had Alonzo Mourning, and you had Dikembe Mutombo for part of the time. I know he was
Hmm.
in the West and the East, bounced back and forth, but like that's a pretty good cluster of centers trying to make it against in the East. And all NBA, you also got to toss in Hakeem and David Robinson. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
I, I don't
Looking
hate
at
it.
his highest All NBA placement, which is 28th in 98. Above him, Jason Williams of the Nets, Hakeem Olajuwon still hanging around, Alonzo Mourning are the three non-All NBA centers, and then Dikembe Mutombo, David Robinson, and Shaq. So he's like a top 6, 7-ish center in the league. I'll take it. All right.
Can I interest you in a Billy Pultz?
You can actually. That's my next. That's not my next guy, but he's close, a couple spots away.
Three-time ABA All-Star, plays from 71 to 85 with the New York Athletics, San Antonio Spurs, and Houston Rockets, kind of bridging NBA and ABA times. And I found this absolutely wonderful Bob Ryan quote. Bob Ryan, of course, the greatest Celtics homer outside of Bill Simmons, or outside of the Ringerverse, because they got a lot of other Celtics homers out there. The quote is, "I consider Pulse to be just another or nobody NBA center or nobody ABA center, but he showed no respect for Collins. He rebounded over him. He scored over him. I saw that and said, 'What is this?' I started to wonder if I dismissed the ABA too quickly." You're muted.
Whoops. Paultz is Dr. J's center in
Mm-hmm.
for the Nets. Then he goes to the Spurs in the last year of the ABA, jumps over to the NBA, and still is pretty effective, like 15-8. Plays all up until age 36, 1985. So you see that longevity. A lot of guys in the ABA join the NBA and they're pretty old and it falls apart. Where Paultz really maintains his effectiveness. Um, and also kind of a interest like kind of a big part of the 81 Rockets making the finals,
Mm-hmm.
which is probably the last thing anyone thinks about when they think about Paultz. But after kind of being dead in the water the last few playoffs, he plays all 21 games, right next to Moses Malone, 34 points at 12, 34 minutes per game, 12 points per game, 7 boards. Really steps it up. That's kind of a big reason why they go from mediocre to finals run is um, Pulse plays more and Tomjanovich plays less.
Yeah. And Pulse, to speak to some of those ABA things, in 74, he is averaging 17.7 and 15.2. Or sorry, that's on the 72 team, but he's winning titles in 74 and 72. He's arguably the second best guy in the 74 team, behind Irving, ahead of Larry Keenan. It's a distant second, but I think you can make that case. Also, fun fact, his nickname is the Whopper, actually named after Burger King.
That's very nice. Whopper. Okay, I'll keep that in mind when we're replacing him. Um,
Are we
led the
placing him
ABA.
now?
Yeah. Led the ABA in blocks 1976. Um, in the 74 finals, 15 points, 10 boards. In the 72 finals, which they lose, 19 points and 14 boards. That's with Barry, though, isn't it?
74 or
70,
72.
72.
Had to double check. Didn't write it down.
Pretty sure. Rick Barry's
But
Nets. And then he's basically 20 and 14. 27 playoff series, won 12 of them, made it to 3 finals. I'm in.
yeah. All right. So that gives us five guys: Vlade, Adams, Lopez, Smits, Pultz. Is it now time for me to talk into DeAndre Jordan?
You could not do that. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say something more profound, but that's what came out. All right. My rule is Tyson Chandler has to be ahead of Jordan.
I will accept that. I had
Okay.
Tyson Chandler, just a few guys down. I have Jordan, Bill Cartwright, Tyson Chandler are my next couple of guys up.
Okay. Let's do Chandler. Um, a ton of games. 2001, the 2001-2 season to 1920. Um, I mean, to make it basically that's a good 20 years almost. 19 seasons. He's a one-time
Mhm.
All-Star, three-time All-Defense, All-NBA, and Defensive Player of the Year in 2012, and just a massive part of the 2011 championship for Dallas. He grabbed rebounds and defended the rim at a high level for almost 20 years. That's basically the Chandler case. And at his peak was an incredible rim protector. And his block numbers aren't crazy, but that's just what he was so good at, is being 7 foot with a massive wingspan and super mobile for that era, and being able to cover ground as the league got a little bit quicker. Him going from like the Knicks in 2011, um 22nd defense up to the 5th best defense when he jumps from the Mavs to the Knicks. It's an automatic game changer.
Absolutely. And I think one thing that people will kind of get distracted by is the low block numbers. He never averages 2 blocks a game, but part of that is blocks are a terrible way to look at defensive players. Um, a really good way is kind of look at what the field goal percentage is when that guy is near them, and how much he disrupts it. And another way is just look at like that defensive rating when they are on the floor. And Chandler passes both of those tests with flying colors. He is absolutely a great defensive player of this era. We see him getting the depoy. We see him getting some of that recognition. But I think that's where some people go astray is they look and they're like, best season was 1.8 blocks. Well, blocks wasn't what he did. What he did was stop the other team from scoring.
Blocks are just a testament to how willing a player is to take defensive risks, and sometimes that's not a good thing. Like Hassan Whiteside has a block title. I think it's like 2019. Hassan
Hmm.
Whiteside block title in Portland. But he really had, like, because that team was so bad, there was no consequences for him just rotating way out of position and hunting blocks. He was never that good defensively. He was just huge and athletic and willing to go out there and alter shots. But for every shot he blocked, he probably made a mistake on that rotation 4 or 5 times. Where Chandler was pretty much perfect. And just to note, 37 minutes per game against the Heat in the finals. That's the most out of any playoff series he's played. That's huge minutes on the biggest stage.
It's one of my big knocks against guys like Mark Eaton is Eaton has like a ton of seasons where he's 3 to 4 blocks a game. I think he's got one where he's 5, but he's also almost matching a block of foul, and he can't stay on the floor because of minutes. So always in foul trouble, and he's just going to swing at everything. I'd rather have a Tyson Chandler type of defense where he's going to get there, he's going to be vertical, he's going to force you to try something. I mean, hell, I might even take a Roy Hibbert type of defense if Hibbert
I mean,
was
is Mark Eden
good for
on
longer.
even on this list?
No, 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 no. Mark Eaton,
No,
Eaton's a
he's
ways away, but some people fall in love with those block numbers. So I
I
just
don't
wanted to
think
speak
well,
to
he's
that.
not even on the in my top 100. Like that's I don't know if that's fair. Um, but we'll
I,
get there when we get there. I agree. I don't think he's gonna be top 75. But eventually, it's like, would you rather have him or Enos Cantor?
would you rather have him or Andre Drummond?
Drummond,
Yeah.
like the worst way. I'd rather have Drummond. Um,
All right.
I'd definitely rather have Hibbert. Okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but
Yeah.
okay, I'm still just floating out Wayne Embry, 5-time All-Star, Hall of Famer.
I will take
All
Wayne
right.
Embry here. I had him at 57 in my initial list. It is lower, but we can have some compromise or put put him over Jordan and Cartwright.
I want to hear. I'm ready. I really am for the DeAndre Jordan case. Can you
So
make it?
the DeAndre Jordan case is we compare players to their era. And part of the DeAndre Jordan case is the fact that it wasn't a very good centers era, which allowed Jordan to be one of the best players of that era. No one else that we're looking at and talking about ever really has a claim to be one of the best players at the position. Jordan does. And this is a transitional time from the NBA where they're still trying to figure out how do we move to small ball or skill ball. And he tears up teams by just being one of the best role men. Him and Chris Paul, their pick and roll, or him and Blake Griffin, in their pick and roll was just a a devastating weapon and that the NBA didn't quite know how to deal with. And yes, a lot of that is Chris Paul's passing to hit him on the money. Chris Paul has turned Bismack Biyombo into a great roller for last year in Phoenix. He's helped a lot of guys, but also DeAndre Jordan was like the greatest roll man weapon of let me run, jump, and get something on offense. And then on defense, he did what was asked. He protected the paint really well. He was a good defensive center. He was awake. He was engaged. He was active. Um, I mean, there's probably a 5-year stretch where if your team is not going to be built around a center, you probably want DeAndre Jordan. He's probably the best available center for you if you are not going to build your team around him, which is kind of what we're talking about. Is a lot of guys who are their team's second to fourth options.
Just massive, massive stats. That's 5 straight field goal percentage titles and 2 rebounding titles. And in 2015, that's 15 rebounds per game. That's a ton of rebounds for anybody. Now, the thing with like Andre Drummond is he got those rebounds but didn't defend the rim at all. But DeAndre Jordan definitely did. Just by being huge and super athletic, like one of the most athletic centers. I know we see DeAndre now, there's not much going on, but like 2015, 2014, even earlier than that, um, DeAndre is just this hyper athletic center that really kept defenses honest because you could throw it anywhere and he would come down with that. And I honestly think like there are a lot of flaws of the Lob City Clippers, Chris Paul's health, Blake Griffin's health, Doc
Relying on
Rivers.
Paul Pierce.
Yeah, relying on Paul Pierce and Wesley Matthews and whatever other small forward, not Derek Williams, not sorry, Wesley Johnson. Wesley
There you
Johnson
go.
is
You got
the
there.
um,
Matt Barnes.
Matt Barnes. I think before DeAndre's free throw shooting is like Jamal Crawford, not very good, can't guard a cone. JJ Redick, great 3-point shooter, horrible defensively. Like, go ahead, try to guard Golden State with those two guys. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. DeAndre
Perfect.
Jordan.
It just, it's the right position. It's the right player for the time and the era. And there also is a fair amount of longevity as to how many years he was at this level and good. Whereas we've got some other guys that, weren't at the level for that long. So, who is your nomination for 59?
Can I offer you Jeff Ruland?
I like a Jeff Ruland. Make the
Yeah,
case.
Nick Filthy is his nickname. Rulin gets injured at age 28, and really is banged up prior to that. But age 25, 26, 2 All-Star seasons, he's 22 points, 12 boards, 4 assists, and 84. And while you think like, yeah, but it's good stats, bad team, not really. The Bullets win 35 games, and then 40 games the next year. They're very much still able to put together a winning team with Ruland. It's not like a super like a Bradley Beal Wizards case where if he's averaging 30, that team probably kind of sucks. Um, I think this is probably the last player we're going to even talk about that's able to be an entire offense, to be 20, 12, and 4, a great passer to a great scorer and a competent rebounder. What do you think about Jeff Ruland? Also, sorry, before you say that, ran the break like a maniac. Dude would get
Yep.
boards, hustle down, and he's just so big and so tanky that no one was stepping in front of it. And he had a really soft touch.
One half of the Beef Brothers is eventually traded for Moses Malone and 2 first-round picks. Him and Cliff Robinson. Yeah, there's a lot to like about Jeff Ruland. It is a little bit brief. So I did have a couple guys ahead of him. Red Robbins. I think we need to get Red Robbins over him. Just just from a standpoint of what Red did and what Red was able to accomplish. But I do really like Jeff Ruland. Can I make the Red Robbins case?
Yeah, please. I was gonna ask you. Get
It's an
Robbins. Go ahead.
it's an all ABA case, but it is a 4-time All-Star. First 5 seasons, he's averaging 14 and a half and 12 and a half. but he's like on kind of some of the more star-studded teams. Like he's in 68, he's behind Doug Moe and Jimmy Jones, both of whom we've ranked. He's probably the third guy, but he still is dropping 41 points and 23 boards in game one of the 68 finals.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of maybe not superstar, but he's been described as one of the ultimate team players, and that he was just a true chemistry fit. And like even when he got moved and had to bounce around teams, like the Stars general manager said that letting Robinson go in the 72 San Diego expansion get Ah, letting Robbins go in the 72 expansion draft to San Diego was one of the worst gambles and mistakes I ever made as a general manager. Red was the ultimate team player. I didn't realize how much he meant to chemistry. I always respected his ability as a player, but I respect him even more as a man. He never complained about anything. He was great to the city. We'd send him out to every charity event. And he always accepted everything we asked. He accepted basketball was a business, and he had a great attitude.
I'm in. I see the case. On my goodness skill metric, his highest placement is ninth in 1968. It's pretty good,
Nice.
pretty solid.
All right, so if we put him at 59, Rulin at 60,
Sounds good to me.
perfect. 10 guys down, 15 to go. You want to talk about Bill Cartwright, Red Kerr, Andrew Bynum?
Andrew Bynum.
Any of these names catching your interest?
Let's do Cartwright. He was the closest one, and I think that's about right.
Yeah. Also, like very similar cases to him and Rulin, where they're really good initially. Probably people of my age don't really think that much about Bill outside of his Knicks tenure, or sorry, outside of his Bulls tenure. But those first couple of years with the Knicks, he's 20 and 7, 20 and 8. It's really good. Those first 5 years, he was with New York. The first two, he was an all-star in 80, another 20 points per game season in 81. In 85, he injures his foot, misses the entire year. In 86, he tries to come back, plays just 2 games, gets injured again. Basically doesn't play the rest of 86. Couple more middling years with the Knicks. He's nowhere near the same player. They trade him away to Chicago for Charles Oakley, and he becomes the inside force that Chicago needs. He's not a superstar. He's not an all-star, but he was early in his career, and then he contributes to winning at a super high level.
In the playoffs for the Bulls three-peat, he starts every game, 50 out of 58, 27 minutes per game. He's just scoring 7 points and adding 4.5 boards, but he's playing his role perfectly. They're relying on him every single night. And he has those first 5 years or 5 years um, with the Knicks that he's a pretty high level player, including All Stars rookie season.
Yeah. All right. Who's your next nomination?
It is Andrew Bogut.
I like it. I like
In
it.
world record, not just NBA record, world record for most illegal screens set in a career. The man did he set those. The Warriors built a dynasty not on Steph Curry and Klay Thompson's shooting, but on Andrew Bogut's illegal screens. um, his statistical peak is
Okay.
like 2010, 2011, where he's in 2010 for the Bucks. He's 16 points, 10 boards with 2.5 blocks. 2011 All NBA, 13 points, 11 boards, a league high 2.6 blocks. Then gets hurt, and then gets traded to Golden State, where he is their starting center and one of the best rim protectors in the league. They're just asking him to grab rebounds and defend the rim and set hulking screens while moving his feet every playoff game, and he does it, and it's winning basketball. And I think like Draymond is so important defensively, but Draymond is able to be so destructive at so many levels because he had he was allowed to be extra extra destructive, more so than he would be because he had a Klay Thompson guarding wings and then a Andrew Bogut behind him, really defending the rim. Because Draymond, while a great defensive player, isn't a fantastic rim protector given his size. That's just the nature of the game. And with Bogut back there and Thompson ahead of him, I mean the Warriors couldn't be scored on because Draymond was just playing basically strong safety, blowing up any plays in between.
I love Andrew Bogut. This is too high. We will
Too
get
high?
there.
Okay.
This is a little bit too high. I mean, we could talk about all of those dirty screens, but we also need to look at the fact that in the playoffs, in the 15 and 16 runs, he's averaging less than 20 minutes a night, less than 5 points a game, 7 boards, which is nice. But like we will
Those
get there.
screens, dude, they wouldn't have won it. And they would those Warriors teams are lottery teams without those screens.
Zaza Pachulia came in and replaced him.
Okay, but they
I
had Kevin
love
Durant.
Bogut.
They had Kevin Durant at that point. That's different.
True,
Okay.
true. But they were a dominant team with and without him. He is very inarguably the 5th best player, maybe the 6th best player
Behind
on
who?
those Warriors.
Well, it's Steph
Harrison Barnes.
Barnes. Get out of here. Yeah, right. That's just not true. That's not true. They
Hey,
needed rim
hey,
protection more
Aaron,
than
who was the
Barnes.
death lineup?
It was without Bogut, but they still needed him.
Yeah,
The death lineup was like in spurts we're gonna play small and just rain threes, but they couldn't do it all game because of Bogut. I think you're right, it's too early. Do you want to hear my next nomination?
sure.
It is Sam Lacey.
Sam Lacey.
Sam
That's
Lacey.
really high. He did not make my top 75.
Really?
What did you see with Sam?
I
Slam and
just
Sam.
I fell in love with the versatility, and obviously he played 11 seasons with the Kings, which I liked. 1970 to 83 makes one All-Star team. Career averages of 10 points, 10 boards, and 3.7 assists. 1975 makes the All-Star team with 11 points, 14 boards, and 5 assists, along with 2.1 blocks and 1.7 steals. If you're looking for great stats, it's right here. The only centers to have an 11 point, 14 rebound, 5 assist season um, are Wilt, Bill, Kareem. I forget
Jokic. I mean, the assists here are the limiting factor
yeah.
for a lot of guys.
I don't think Jokic or Sabonis have 14 boards per game. Maurice Stokes does it.
I guess that's fair.
So it's like while also being like a pretty great defender statistically with at least a disruptive one, and makes the playoffs a couple times with the Kings, including being the starting center on the 81 team that makes the conference finals, averaging 35 minutes per game in that playoff run. So there's some playoff value, some cool statistical stuff, some longevity with over 1,000 games played, 1,002 games played.
Yeah.
If he was in a
The
Lakers
interest-
jersey, you would have had him 51st.
if he was in a Lakers jersey, he would have contributed to some titles, or actually he won
Yeah,
something.
sure.
But he's in a
Maybe.
Kings jersey, so
Who do you
he's
have?
just contributing to ping pong balls. Um, my next highest guy is Red Kerr, 3-time All-Star, 55 champion, averaging mid 15s and 12 to 14 boards a night. You're right, he doesn't get there in the assists, but we can look at from 57 to 64, 15 points, 13 boards, 3 assists or 2.5 assists. Probably a starter. They didn't keep track of games started for the 55 Syracuse team that 14 and 10 in that playoff run. It's not
Yeah,
as sexy of a pick.
55 Syracuse is like the worst era in NBA history.
It
Um,
is.
Mike and leaves and Russell's not there yet. He's averaging 10 points and 6 boards in the regular season. I see the value, and I like, for a guy who starts his career in 54 to get to 66 is really impressive. 900 games. Could you really have that over Sam Lacey?
Well, so the fun thing is we've had Alvin Adams, who was declared the best passing center since Red Kerr. And then who's the other guy? Wayne Embry said that he was the second coming of Red Kerr. So
Interesting.
both of these guys have compared themselves to Red Kerr. And I have a super fun fact about Red Kerr.
Okay, I'm interested.
Red Kerr was a ginger whose
Yes,
wife's name is Ginger.
that's right. I remember you told me about that. Ginger goes
It's
Ginger
Red
Kerr.
and Ginger Kerr.
Man, that's good. Yeah, all right, you got me. Let's do
Su- to the best of my knowledge, zero relationship to Steve Kerr. They could be distant cousins. It is spelled the same way, but neither basketball reference page lists it. Kerr's dad, I know, was, I believe, is a teacher. It was in
Did you
the.
know that did you know the Grant family is massive in the NBA? I didn't
Oh
know that
yeah,
Jeremy, Jarian, Harvey, and Horace are all intermingled. I did not know that. I didn't think it connected, but it does.
no relationship to Grant Hill,
No,
the most famous Grant.
that's true. No, but yeah, it's Harvey Grant was pretty good, and Horace Grant was even better. Dad and uncle there for Jeremy and Jarian and Jariah or something. There's a third one.
Yeah, there's a lot of interconnected Grants. It would be fun someday to like go through and
The NBA
do a
family
combo
tree.
rankings. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Well,
so we have Kerr at 62. I'm
yep.
still hanging on to Lacey.
Could I interest you in Caldwell Jones? One-time All-Star, two-time All-Defensive center. He's an All-Star in the ABA, but then becomes All-Defense in the NBA. He is the starting center 36, 35 minutes a night for Philadelphia in two finals runs. Lower numbers, but he's there for defense and that impact. We're looking at, was it 1,200 games? 1,299 games, so amazing longevity.
Is he the 70s? Because he plays for a while, right? It's like 70s into the 80s.
74 to 1990.
Well into the 80s. How about all of it? um,
Yes.
is he
Um,
essentially the Tyson Chandler equivalent of that era?
I think he's got to be. There's zero offense in this man's game. We're looking at one series where he averaged more than 12 points per game in all of his playoff career, but he is just always out there for defense and rebounding, and he does those two things very well. He is um, just statistically a very good defender, always recognized as such, and put into a lot of big games. He plays in 27 playoff series, is 14 and 13 in them, but there's also a couple of years where like that's the end of his career, right? And he takes a loss playing 9 minutes a night in the playoffs. So can't can't fault him too much for that.
I don't know if I'm quite ready for him. I had him
Okay.
quite a ways down. All
Picks
right.
up an MVP vote in 1981.
Yeah, I bet he does. All right.
All right, all right. So we'll highlight him. We'll highlight Sam Lacey. I'm not opposed to Lacey making it,
Yeah, but too early.
but too early.
Okay, I'm gonna give you two offense only centers. These guys are getting you buckets, 20 points per game, and some all star appearances between the two of them. And I'll let you pick because it's so close. Would you rather have Nikola Vucevic or Al Jefferson?
Vucevic.
All right, Vucevic it is.
I Vu just a little bit down. We've kind of discussed around all the other guys. Um, let's see. I had Vu as my 64th center, so 63, moving him up one spot. Not going to kill me at all.
All right, just for Vucevic, I do want to make fun of him for a second. He made I think he made the All Star team in 2021, and since then, in the past 3 seasons, he's been referred to as the Bulls' third All Star. That's the furthest I've ever seen someone stretch out to injury alternate All Star appearances. I'm pretty sure he was it. I like 99% sure. Can I double check that really quickly?
Absolutely. But do you want to guess what the Bulls' Big Three has been redubbed by Zach Lowe in one of the most recent Low Post episodes?
It's got to be the mid three, right? That's what I've been calling it.
No. In tribute to the three alphas, these are the three betas.
That's so mean. That's just you don't have to be so mean about that. Now
Right?
2019, he is a legitimate all-star. There's only one injury replacement, which is Oladipo is hurt, and then D'Lo gets his all-star nod.
So that doesn't fully surprise me that he actually really got one because that 2019 year, it's 20 points and 12 boards, which is a good stat line. And Orlando makes the playoffs. They are 42 and 40. He put up numbers that actually contributed to something, and he got Evan Fournier to the playoffs. This team's starting lineup
Yeah,
is DJ Augustine, Jonathan Isaac, Aaron Gordon, and Evan Fournier.
I love that the big three of him, Gordon, and
Isaac,
I guess Oladipo earlier on that never materialized. 2021, not an injury alternate either. I just lied. I spread misinformation on the internet. It's as easy as that.
easy
There
as
are here
that.
the injury alternates that year were Booker for Mike Conley. Davis gets hurt, and wait, sorry.
Mike
This
Conley
is this is a
was
this is a triple. They're a triple. Okay, so Booker gets Anthony Davis gets hurt. That's where it starts. Replaced by Booker. Then Booker gets hurt, and Conley gets a replacement, which he never should have gotten. Durant gets hurt. Sabonis gets replaced, and then Embiid and Ben Simmons get COVID and can't play.
listen. We needed Mike Conley to make one, so that way we could stop with the he's the best player to never make an All Star
That
team.
was that was the worst thing that ever happened to him, though. Like he could have been the best player to ever take an All-Star team. Now he's just a one-time All-Star. It's not fun anymore.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Give me back Lamar Odom, best player to never make an All Star team. It's not true,
20
but
for Vooch, 2014 to now, he's been 18 and a half points and 10 boards with 3 assists. Yeah, let's do it. Lock him in.
boom, 13 guys down, 12 to go.
All right. Lay it on me.
Could I interest you in Swin Nader?
Yeah, you could. I had him a ways
Okay.
down, but I'm a huge fan.
So first off, I want to say this because I've heard this so many times. People have called him one of the best All Stars to not be a starter. Swin Nader was a fucking starter. I don't know who says this or why they say it. But I've heard people say that. I'm like, no, we just didn't track starters, but you're playing 34 minutes a night. You're starting. His first 2 years in the ABA, 14.6 points, 14.5 boards. The man was like a tireless energy machine trying to impact the game on offense. And I know we have other rebounders that we may or may not discuss in Andre Drummond. So I'm not going to base the whole case around it, but he was doing that in service of helping the team. This was not me rebounding my own boards, but let me get everyone else's. Um, Referred to as like just a huge guy. People describe him as being like built of all muscle. The Spurs paid $300,000 to get the rights to Swin Nader in 70 something. And
Looks
like
like 74.
it was the greatest amount paid for a player for his rights at that time.
Paid off, though. There has been one person
Yeah,
in basketball history to lead the ABA and the NBA in rebounds per game.
and that was
Sven
Swin.
Nader. Sven Nader.
Wait,
This
no.
this is
Moses Malone has to have done that. How is Moses Malone not done?
no, Moses played like one season in the ABA.
How did he not lead them in rebounds?
He was 19. He was a
So
kid.
he averaged
No,
14.6. This was not crazy for me to think that that would have led the league.
I would. Yeah, but it was one season. I would have remembered that.
Yeah, I knew he had just had an insane rebounding season. But
This is a great pick. Sven Nader, Bill Walton's body pillow. I mean, I love it, man. I mean, for those that don't know, Nader was brought on to UCLA because the UCLA team did not have anyone to practice against Bill Walton, and they wanted a 7-footer to battle with him. And through the fire and the forge of playing Bill Walton every day, Sven Nader ended up being pretty good.
yeah, yeah, really solid ABA career. Transitioned into the NBA pretty well. Well, obviously not as well as his ABA career, but yeah, I'm not going to hold that too much against him.
Can that has to be a real nickname on here. He has no nicknames. You tell me Bill Walton's body pillow wouldn't fit. They're playing together on the Clippers again. They're on the Clippers together.
Man, old times, or old friendships. How did Swin jump before Bill? Bill's he's in the NBA. I guess he only played 2 seasons of college. His 2 seasons in college are 22 and 23. I guess also at this time freshmen weren't allowed to play. You had like the freshman squad, so you only ever see guys with 3 years. Interesting. But all right, 65. Might I offer you, if you're not interested in Caldwell Jones yet, I have two names. One of them you're going to like, one of them you're going to dislike.
Okay.
They are 320 and 321 in the Matrix. So back to back, we have Andrew Bynum and we have Brad Miller.
That's interesting. Honestly, I really thought I would have to talk you into Bynum. You're that into the Bynum experience. It's pretty brief, and yeah, no, go ahead. I mean, I'm just curious what you have to say about it because it is really brief, and he's a fucking moron. I think he's
It's
insane.
it's incredibly brief. Um he's an idiot, but he he was instrumental to the winning of 2 championships, and his absence really cost the Lakers a third. Bynum does not play in the '08 playoffs, a fact that all Celtics fans love to forget, but then cry crocodile fucking tears over not having Kendrick Perkins the next or in 2010. Like, and it's
Dang.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I
our
get it.
near all-star young center who's averaging 13 and 10 is gone, and you
No,
guys are
Kendrick
gonna
Perkins. They
victory
would have
lap.
won if they had Perkins.
And then so we've got the 2 rings, '09 and '10, where he does have some really high-level series in that stretch, but also then 2012, his last year before blowing out his knee, he is 18.7 points, 11.8 hit boards a night. He was vindicating everything whichever of the idiot Bus brothers thought when they drafted him and, you know, almost sabotaged the end of Kobe's career with this guy. Like he was validating that he was going to be the next piece, and it does get hurt and can't deliver anymore. Also, we shouldn't ever let people forget about him just totally cheap shotting JJ Barea out of the 2011 playoffs, but there was real superstar potential here, and there was contributions to winning at the
Did
highest level.
did Brea miss time because of that? I never I was 10. I remember watching it live. I remember that very specifically, but I don't remember what happened. I was actually I was my older brother was graduating from the Marine Corps boot camp during the 2011 finals. I
You have an older
think.
brother?
No, we were camping. The 2012 finals was yeah, my older brother is he's 30.
Oh,
Um and the 2012 finals was the boot camp, and the 2011 finals we were camping. And so at the end of the night, at the very end, they're on the campfire. My dad would read the scores. He'd be like, "You want to know who won the 2011 finals?" It's like the Mavs won. It's like whoa. So I wasn't. I probably sugar pine if anyone in California knows what that is during the 2011 finals.
nice. No, JJ Barea did not miss any time. Does he does play a lot fewer minutes. The next series is against OKC, but that could also just be, hey, it was hard to go against OKC's guards, and they wanted a little bit more size on Westbrook. Um, but still a cheap shot. Bynum just took him out of the air.
Can we do Lacey? Is it Sam Lacey's time? Is it too early?
I still feel like it's too early. I mean, I don't think Lacey hits that peak that Bynum hit that final year, and I don't think he contributes to winning as well as Bynum did in the earlier 2 years.
I just his minutes aren't big enough. Like in the two finals, he's 7 points and 5 boards on 22 minutes per game. Like we gave Bogut a bunch of shit for that, and I think Bogut is probably
Okay,
more important.
Bogut is like 3 points in the fi like Bogut is
Well,
5 points in the
he's
playoffs.
a great defensive player. Great defensive player.
Yeah, Bynum
Okay,
is all
Bynum.
defense as well.
No, he wasn't.
No,
He
you're
just
right. He was
wasn't.
just all he was all NBA. Sorry.
Yeah, he's not that. Come on. I don't feel like I feel like I'd rather have Bogut than Bynum, but okay, I don't. Okay, Brad Miller's a bit too early.
Okay.
I had Bynum and Miller like 74, 75. So I actually have quite a big chunk of people. My next
Alright.
guy would be Zundris Ilgauskas.
I had Big Z right after these two. I can easily take Big Z at 65.
It's kind of a miracle that Ilgauskas played at all because he
Oh,
he
yeah.
comes into the league with a foot injury, plays a full season, is all rookie, 14 points, 9 boards, gets hurt the next year, plays just 5 games, misses the entire 2000 season, misses like 2/3 of the 2001 season. Now he's 26 and finally like able to play basketball. And age 27 makes the All-Star team. Age 29 makes the All-Star team. And that point, like he's 37-3, 240 on the decline. But the fact that he was able to squeeze out that kind of basketball is honestly really impressive. In that 2007 playoff run, all 20 games, 32 minutes a night, 13 points, 10 boards. Super important next to LeBron. And in getting that pretty bad Cavs team to the finals, but he is the second best player on that team.
I do find it kind of crazy that one of his all-star appearances comes when he is pretty much healthy the entire year and the team goes 17 and 65. Like,
Hey, that's good though. Honestly, I like that in terms of ranking players because if your team is awful and NBA like people, media, the fans are still like, no, like Agauskas is one of the best players in the league. That matters to me. Or maybe it's
I
just his home country of Lithuania voting for him.
okay, Lithuania would only vote him in as a starter, and I don't believe he was starting that game. I think it's more the East did not have centers. Um, like because this is in the Brad Miller as an all-star center. This is Jamal McGlure makes 2 all-star center ranges. This
I
was
don't even think we
not
had
good
McGlure.
times.
Did you have McGlure on this list at all?
Oh no, God no.
No. We talk a lot about the 2010s, mid 2010s as an awful era for centers. This is the worst one though. Like post Shaq, like when Shaq starts to break down, and before Dwight, um,
Well, it's
you get
because
some pretty gnarly All Star appearances.
It's because the center position was so powerful in the 90s that all of your centers start drifting, like the younger guys coming in start drifting out. Like Garnett should have been a center. Duncan, we counted him as a center. He's still technically playing more power forward than center because they have Robinson in '03. But like Robinson, Garnett, Dirk, in the 90s, these guys would be centers. And they just developed more to their game and played power forward next to a center instead. But
That's a great point. Good historical analysis. Do you want to do Big Z?
yeah, let's do Big Z. And then could we get a Brad Miller in there? Because I feel like Brad is basically on the same level as Big Z in this time period.
Let's do it. I remember when we were trying to, or we like the Kings fandom was trying to get DeMarcus Cousins in as an all-star. That was like the tagline was like make DeMarcus the last Kings all-star since Brad Miller. And it's like that's really depressing.
It's really
Um,
sad.
but I remember that. I remember like the Sac B and stuff. It's like Kings is not an all-star since Brad Miller, the great Brad Miller. I saw him on an airplane one time, going from leaving Chicago and going to Sacramento.
I am 90% sure that I rode a like tram an air from an airplane to a terminal with Lade Divac. Um, but I didn't say anything because I was in Croatia and I was like, you know, maybe it's just another giant Croatian or like former Yugoslavian country. And I was like, I did not want to make that mistake on my first day in Croatia, but it was just this massive, huge man. And I was like, I swear that's Vlade Divac. And I tried to get a picture of him, but couldn't really get like a good angle that wasn't super noticeable that I'm taking a picture of him. So
I
I may
met
or may not have.
maybe. Could have. I feel like that'd been obvious because he's huge. I met
Mhm.
Peja Stojakovic. I was doing the scoreboard at one of his son's basketball
Nice.
games, and I took a picture of them. Like you don't realize when people are that big, they're proportional, and so his head is huge. It's like he just looks like he's like because he's easy 6'10". I even saw him in the bathroom. I saw him in the bathroom, and I was still in the stall. He was like, I was like, "Hey, like Peja Stojakovic is in here." Like looking, it's like, what? um.
Dang.
Anyways, okay, we have Brad at 66. All right, you're taking
Oh,
Sam Lacey and liking it,
I want to say two things about Ilgauskas before we move on.
please.
One, I just kind of wanted to sum up those games. Aside from 98, where he plays all 82, the other 4 out of his first 5 years, that combines to be just 29 games. Uh, just wanted to sum that up.
Man.
Uh, and then the other 2 fun things I have. One, he threw punches with Paul Pierce. Any man who punches Paul Pierce, good in my books.
I guess, sir.
Uh, and then 2, he's top 60 in blocks per game, and offensive rebounds, or at least was in the summer when I was putting these numbers together.
That's very impressive. Those some good
Yeah,
numbers.
good things for your big man to be good at.
All right, we've gone long enough. Accept it.
God, Sam Lacey.
Accept it.
It's
Crazy stats. All right, can you
it's
promise me he'll make the list and I'll
oh,
leave it alone?
100%. He will
Okay, all right.
100% make the list.
I'll leave it alone for now. I have a fun nomination. Is it my turn or your turn?
It's your turn.
Um, I want to talk about Marcus Camby.
Okay.
We have almost 1,000 games, 96 to 2013. This is a 4-time block champ, 4-time All Defense, and a 2007 Defensive Player of the Year. From '06, '07, and '08, he is the block champ all 3 years. He's still chipping in um, 10, 12, 14 points per game in his rookie season. Now, he's able to offer more offense than like a Mark Eden or some of those guys. But just crazy rebounding numbers. I mean, to play, he averaged 10 boards a game in 2011. He was 36 years old and he's still averaging 11 boards. That's 10 years from 2001 to 2011. That's 10 points and 11 rebounds. Really great defensive stuff. And when Ewing gets hurt in the 99 playoff run, it's Camby that steps in and helps transition them, like stabilize the ship and still make the finals.
Absolutely. I had him back behind a couple of guys, but I think this is a totally fair spot to put him with that defensive effort. Um, I cut my stats for him from 98 to 2008, which is an 11 season stretch, and he averages 10 points, 10 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks per game. He is a guy that does have the good block stats, and with his block stats, it is coming from rim protection, not just let me swing and foul guys. You touched on a guy earlier when you asked me which good stats, bad team guy, or like meaningless stats. Could we get Al Jefferson above him?
Okay, yeah, I had him actually right behind him, so I could be convinced.
I just think with Al Jefferson, I mean, the guy averages from '08 to 14, 19 points per game, 10 rebounds. He's got 6 seasons in the top of 15 in rebounds per game. He is not good in the playoffs, but also he was with the Charlotte Bobcats. He makes
Hmm.
an all NBA team with the Charlotte Bobcats. Just a masterful pump fake artist. And like, yes, you can look at Sprawl Ball and see how the league wanted to move out and how inefficient he was from like beyond 3 feet. But he was also really efficient within those 3 feet, and he got a good number of his shots in there. And um, he attacked the paint so strongly that not many guys could do that. Um, so I think he's kind of been underrated as history has progressed. I'd like to get him in here at 67.
I love his 2015 season. Sorry, 2014 season. That's the All NBA year, helping the Bobcats to the playoffs with 22 points and 11 boards. I remember they play the Heat in the first round, and of course they lose, and of course they get swept. But Jefferson sprains his ankle in Game 3, and I was so mad because, of course, I was like 13 and I hated the Heat. I was like, no, like how Jefferson was supposed to save us, like he was supposed to defeat the evil Heatles and like destroy LeBron, and he couldn't do it. Um, I'm on for Al Jefferson, just a good scorer and kind of underrated block numbers. Like we talk about that, like how maybe blocks aren't that important, but 1.2 blocks per game is higher than you'd think. In in 2011, 1.9 blocks is good for 10th. We're talking Al Jefferson, top 10 in blocks per
Yeah.
game? Question mark, which he was.
All right, so we put Jefferson in at 67, Camby at 68. That leaves us with 7 spots left, and I've highlighted 4 guys that have to make this list.
Okay.
In Caldwell Jones,
Yeah.
Andrew Bynum, Sam Lacey, and Andrew Bogut.
You want to do? Okay. Are those the guys you want next?
Not necessarily in that order, and there's one more guy I want to toss in that I think has to make this list, which is Michael Thompson.
Okay, I could see that. I could see Thompson. We still have some extra spots then. I had Mamedo Core in here. Don't feel super strongly about it, but he's here.
He was my
Um,
75, so,
okay, looks like we're
you know.
basically on track. Can we do Lacey first?
All right, I made you wait long enough. Sam Lacey, 69. Fine. All right. Thoughts on Jones, then Bynum,
Sounds
then
great.
Bogut?
That's what I was thinking. All right.
All right. Man, this is once we've talked about all of these guys for a long time, putting them in their final position is not that hard. Caldwell Jones over Bynum is just it's a longevity play. It's when they were competing for titles, they competed about the same level. Bynum has that 1 year of really high level performance, but I like Jones's playing for forever. A career that could drink almost. Actually, could it drink? Caldwell.
I think it could drink.
It could drive. It was
I
16
could
years.
try it. That's funny. All right, I have. You want to hear my final 3 guys? We have
Well, wait. That only puts us at 71. If we go 7, Jones at 70, Bynum at 71. So we got 4 guys left. Do you
I
want to
thought
just lock
Bogut
in
was
Bogut?
72.
Okay. That
Yeah.
I didn't type it in, but Bogut at 72.
Okay. And my final 3 guys are Arvydas Sabonis, Mehmet Okur, and James Edwards.
Bringing in Buddha.
Buddha himself. I'll
Buddha.
just give the Buddha case quickly. It's preposterous longevity. It's like
It is.
longevity that makes you sick. Um, he has kind of 2 arcs where it's like 78 to 86, 22 to age 30, where he's 15 points and 7 boards. So like statistically, he has like pretty consistent numbers. And then he goes on to play for another half century. But he contributes to he's the starting center in the 1990 Pistons playoff run, averaging 14 points per game in that playoff run, and then he's the backup center in the 89 playoff run. He also is around in the 1996 on the 96 Bulls. He's a good 40 years old, but he picks up another ring. But being the starting center,
Do you want to
27
say the
minutes a night.
stats on the 67 or
Say it
the
again.
90? Do you want to say the stats on the 96 run? Because
Yeah, sure, I'll say.
around is the right.
I said he was around. I said he was there for it. I think the 1.8 points in 4.7 minutes in 6 games is perfect. He is there. He hung out. He got a ring. But we have a starting center and a backup center on a title team, and he played in 1,168 games at 12.7 points per game. Dude could put the ball in the basket.
Man, I did not even look into James Edwards. Good for this. It's just quite a ways down in the matrix. But I don't entirely hate it. He
Yeah, let
is
me look at
he
those
is
Pistons
huge.
numbers. 14
Oh,
and a half points in all 82 games in the 1990 season.
and as someone who did a finals rewatch of that 1990 finals, he looked so good. His offense was huge. What is it, game 2? Yeah, 26 points. It's really impactful scoring, single digits in game one, low teens in the other two. But um, I I'm not going to get Buddha into this. I love Buddha. He will be in the top 100, but
Oh, heartbreaking.
but I can't quite see him there. You're gonna hate me for this. The four guys left on my board, or I guess I've got Michael Thompson,
Mhm.
or Andre Drummond, Clint Capella, and Mehmet Okur.
Okay, so we have Okor.
We
You
both have
do you want to?
Okur.
Let's do that first. 73. Memo. Money man.
No, we gotta get Michael Thompson over. We got
You want to do
to.
Thompson over him? Can I?
Yeah.
All right. Okor shooting threes, just for the people watching. One-time All-Star on the '04 Pistons, but had his best seasons with the Jazz from 2006 or 2005, 2009. 17 points and 8 boards, shooting 3.5 threes per game. Known for his clutch shooting.
So good numbers. What he's the one-time All-Star in '07. And that team he is second in points and in rebounds and win shares. The team had their wins. I want to say they were close to 50 wins that year, and they make the Western Conference Finals. But Okor, yeah, they make Western Conference Finals. But dear God, does Okor shit the bed in that Western Conference Finals? Uh, Western Conference Finals, 7 points, 4.4.5 boards, 28% field goal shooting. Just absolutely falls apart in the '07 finals. Um, but otherwise, a really good year for him.
I don't blame him. That's against Duncan, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's peak of his powers, Timmy D. Um,
So we're gonna do Michael Thompson. You want to do Thompson first, and then Okor at 74,
yeah, I just want to talk about Thompson for a minute because Thompson
please.
was a really great scorer, high energy player. Or for the Blazers, we're looking at 17 and a half boards, 9.3, sorry, 17 and a half points, 9.3 boards from 81 to 85. He kind of was the best Blazer until Drexler took over. Drexler also credits him for going to Blazers front office and saying, don't draft Sam Bowie. Michael Jordan's going to be really good. Him and Drexler will figure it out. You should do that. And they didn't, and it didn't work out well. And then Thompson has some leg injuries, is ends up bouncing over to the Lakers in 80. I guess they're in 87, but he's Kareem's backup in 88 and 89. And that kind of artificially suppresses his numbers because he's backing up Kareem. But when he gets out there or when Kareem is hurt, Thompson bounces back up and has a couple of 20-point game nights when Kareem's gone, and still really had the scoring, but you can see the sacrifice to try to be there as a good, try to be there and get a ring.
And he does.
And he does. He gets two of them.
Horrible. Yeah, he was really seen as like the piece that made the '87 team so special. After being in '86, being Portland in '86. But I just want to talk about Thompson at Blazer because the Blazers have Bill Walton win the '77 title. Walton is the best player, arguably in the world, top two player in the world in '78, wins MVP, gets hurt, tries to play in the playoffs, can't do it, gets hurt again. And then in that offseason, they trade for the first overall pick and take Michael Thompson. Thompson is a great rookie, and then he breaks his leg. He injures his leg and misses the whole 1980 season. It's like a disaster for Portland. Could not keep their centers healthy, but really that was the right move because they had a contending roster around Walton. If they could just get another center to replace him, because he, at the time, like he was questioned if he could even continue to play with his injuries, and they did the right thing. But Thompson wasn't as special, and could also got hurt. So
Also, some just terrible closeout performances from 81 through 85. That stretch where he is really good. 81, good, good, good getting eliminated. 17 points, 4 boards, nothing to be sad about. 82, they don't make the playoffs. 83, 6 points, 10 boards, 5 assists, only 6 field goal attempts the entire game. 84. He gets hurt after 6 minutes and doesn't play again. 85, 8.7 boards, no assists, no blocks, 2 for 7. Some really rough closeout stats here that the modern age would love to pick apart, but still he got his team there. He kind of Julius Randled it up, except for without Julius Randling in the regular season, like what Randall is currently doing.
We have one last spot, Nate. One final spot. I'll let
Uh,
you offer your names, and I can pick from the bunch.
you had another name that wasn't James Edwards, but there was another name in there that I liked.
I had Arvydas Sabonis. I had
Okay.
Sabonis, Okoro, and I felt like Arvydas gets a little bit. I always want to give him a little extra credit, a
Hmm.
little bit, just for the mystique. And but there's just some really good Portland teams that he's a part of. I think he makes the playoffs every single yeah, he makes the playoffs every single year with them. Um, 98, 16 points, 10 boards, 3 assists, and just offered good rim protection. The fact that he was massive, it's like 7'3", with like a head that looked like a bourbon barrel. I mean, he was truly huge. And in the time where you had to beat Shaq, like that was really important.
So yeah, I ended up not having him in there because there's really just um, so little NBA his success, and like we can talk about how great he was overseas or how great he was in international competition. But when we really boil it down, he comes to the NBA age 31, kind of broken down, not starting every game. He's averaging 14 points, 8 boards, which is fine. Um, 98, he's up to 16 points and 10 boards as he's kind of adjusted to the NBA. He is starting every game that year, but still, it's very brief and it's really not as high as one would have hoped for. I'm not sure that I really love my next two guys over him. Like it feels criminal to rank Andre Drummond or Clint Capella over him,
Yeah,
but
I just couldn't.
I think there are cases for them both. It's not Drummond's entirely his fault that he was the best Piston for a number of years. That just feels like poor roster construction, and you could still look at that and say, hey, from 2016 to 2020, he has 16 boards and 15 or 16 points and 15 boards, which is just an insane statistical output. Like
It's because he's missing his own shots. He's taking jump shots and missing them, and then he gets it and misses it again. It's like Moses
only,
Malone.
only 5 of the rebounds are offensive. Like
Yeah,
that's still 10 defensive boards. Um, it's
can
not
you sleep
great.
at night? Can you sleep at night putting Andre Drummond above Arvydas Sabonis?
I could sleep at night.
By my stats model, Sabonis was 15th in 1998. I don't know where Drummond ever makes it. Drummond is 18th in 2018, 21st in 2019, 29th in 2020, 30th in 2016.
Yeah, let's do Sabonis.
Yeah,
It
much
makes me
better.
happier. It makes me happier. I don't know that I love it, but I really just can't get that excited for Clint Capella or Andre Drummond. Another name that I looked at for the spot was Ed Sadowski, which there's some just brutal quotes about Ed Sadowski. Ed was the best player, or one of the best players during World War II. It's him and not Doug McDermott. There's a different McDermott that was just insane for the Pistons in the NBL. So he was like, when the BAA got Ed, it was like, we have a star, we have our franchise guy, but it's a little bit of like MJ on the Wizards. And there's this brutal quote of like, yeah, watching Ed play makes me feel like the first part of his last name just sad. So I couldn't quite get him there even.
That's not good. Not
No,
exactly a raving endorsement. All right, Nate.
no.
I read the top 50. You have 25 names to read.
Oh, fine. All right. Starting at 51, we have Vlade Divac, Alvin Adams, Brooke Lopez, Rick Smits, Bill Pultz, Tyson Chandler, Wayne Embry, DeAndre Jordan, Red Robbins, Jeff Rulin, Bill Cartwright, Red Kerr. At 63, we have Nikola Vucevic, Swin Nader, Zildrunas Ilgauskas, Brad Miller, Al Jefferson, Marcus Camby, Slammin' Sam Lacey, Caldwell Jones, Andrew Bynum, Andrew Bogut, Michael Thompson, Mehmet Okur, and at 75, Arvydas Sabonis.
Sounds like a perfect list. We'll never change it.
Sounds like a great list to me, but as always, to our listeners, email us hoopstemple@gmail.com. Make the case for someone that you want to be higher or lower. We love doing these lists, but man, there's not many people to fact check us. We have like a 2011 Slam Top 500, and that is like it. No one ranks out this far, so if you've got opinions, let us know them.
Please do.
Aaron, where can the people find you?
Possible Chairs on TikTok and this podcast all the time.
Find me, Nate_Hoops Temple at TikTok, also here and at the hoopstemple@gmail.com email. Please hit us up.